All right, fight fans, welcome back for another deep dive. This time we're breaking down UFC 310 coming up December 7th at the T-Mobile Arena in Vegas. And let me tell you, this card is stacked.
Definitely. And you know what's crazy? The original main event fell apart, but it kind of worked out for the best.
You're talking about Bilal Muhammad and Shavkat Rakhmonov, right? That was going to be huge.
Yeah, Muhammad's injury threw a wrench in things, but honestly, the new main and co-main events, even more exciting.
For sure. We've got title implications on the line, veterans looking for redemption, and an absolutely wild debut you won't want to miss.
Absolutely. And we're going to give you the lowdown on all the main card fights, the kind of insights you won't find just skimming the headlines.
So let's jump right into it. The new main event, Alexander Pantoja, the flyweight champ, riding a 6-fight win streak against Kaya Sakura, making his UFC debut.
And not just any debut. He's fighting for the title right off the bat.
Crazy, right?
Yeah. Asaka is a 2-time Rizin bantamweight champ. Rizin's a big deal over in Japan, known for their fast-paced, exciting fights. You don't see guys coming from other organizations and getting a title shot right away. It's pretty rare.
So we've got Pantoja, the champ, known for his relentless pace, his grappling, and crazy cardio. And Asaka is moving down a weight class, usually fights at bantamweight, known for his speed and knockout power. It's like a classic striker versus grappler matchup.
Yeah, and the big question is, will Asakura's power translate to flyweight? He hasn't fought at 125 since 2017, and he even missed weight back then. Cutting weight can really drain a fighter, so that's something to watch.
And don't forget, Pantoja's never been finished in his whole career, 33 pro fights, and no one's put him away. That's got to say something about his toughness and ability to survive in the octagon.
Oh, absolutely. Pantoja's style is all about wearing guys down. Constant pressure takedowns, just grinding until they break. It's a nightmare for anyone across the cage from him.
So can Asakura pull off the upset? He's coming in as the underdog at plus 200, while Pantoja's the favorite at minus 250. But as we all know, anything can happen in MMA, especially with a guy who can knock you out with one shot.
Totally. He's got that one-punch power. But he's got to avoid getting tangled up with Pantoja on the ground. That's where Pantoja excels elite grappling. If he gets Asakura down, he'll be looking to control the fight and maybe even work for a submission.
All right, let's move on to the co-main event, which is now a welterweight title eliminator. Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Ian Machado Gary.
Yeah,
it's huge.
Winner of this fight is most likely getting the next shot at the welterweight belt, so the stakes are incredibly high.
No doubt. We're talking about Rakhmonov, undefeated 18-0 with a 100% finishing rate. Every single win's been a stoppage, either knockout or submission. The guy's a monster.
And then there's Machado Gary, also undefeated in the UFC 8-0, looking to become the first Irish champ since Conor McGregor. He's got that slick, striking, great movement, picks his shots really well. It's that classic striker versus grappler dynamic again.
Rakhmonov's pressure, though, it's relentless. He's always coming forward looking to close the distance, either take you down or unleash a flurry of strikes.
Nightmare for anyone who likes to fight from the outside.
Yeah, Machado Gary's more of a counter-striker. Patient waits for his moment and then, boom, tries to land that one perfect shot to change the fight. Will he be able to avoid Rakhmonov's pressure and keep it at a distance? That's the big question.
Big question. Rakhmonov's the favorite here, minus 340. Machado Gary's the underdog at plus 265. But we've seen it time and time again in MMA. Underdogs can pull off upsets, especially when you have clashing styles like this.
Now let's switch gears to the heavyweight division. We've got a rematch. Cyril Gane versus Alexander Volkov.
Oh, yeah. These two first met back in 2021. Gane won that one by decision. Very tactical fight.
Volkov will be looking for revenge, for sure.
Yeah.
But Gane's only gotten better since then. He's considered one of the top contenders in the division.
Absolutely. He's one of the most technical heavyweights out there. Incredible footwork striking for a guy his size.
It's like watching a heavyweight move like a lightweight. The way he evades punches, controls the distance, it's remarkable.
Yeah, but you can't count Volkov out. He's got that knockout power. Can end the fight with one punch.
And this fight was originally scheduled for UFC 308. But Volkov had a knee injury, had to pull out. Is he fully recovered? Yeah. That's something to watch.
Definitely something to keep an eye on.
Gane's the favorite again at minus 260. Volkov the underdog at plus 210. But with heavyweights, it only takes one shot to change everything.
Truth. This is definitely a fight you don't want to miss.
Okay, moving on to a featherweight bout that's got the grappling fans buzzing. Bryce Mitchell, the undefeated submission specialist, taking on Kron Gracie.
Gracie's got quite the pedigree.
You could say that his father is the legendary Rickson Gracie, one of the greatest jiu-jitsu practitioners of all time.
Exactly. So Kron's got that Gracie jiu-jitsu in his blood. But there's a big question mark hanging over this fight.
Yeah, he's been out for a while, right?
Over 4 years. That's a long time to be away from the sport, especially against someone as active and dangerous as Bryce Mitchell.
Mitchell is a puzzle for anyone to solve. He's got this unorthodox grappling style, always attacking from weird angles.
Like a human pretzel, contorting his body, finding submissions from positions you wouldn't think possible.
Mitchell's coming in as a massive favorite at -520. Gracie the underdog at +390. But you can't count Gracie out. That pedigree and his jiu-jitsu lineage are no joke.
It's a classic grappler versus grappler matchup. Could go either way.
Really intriguing to see how their styles match up. Mitchell's all about creativity and finding those unorthodox submissions, while Gracie's style is more rooted in the fundamentals of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu control position patience.
Yeah, it's a battle of philosophies almost.
Will Gracie's mastery be enough to overcome Mitchell's momentum and that unique style? Or will the ring rust be too much? It's tough to call.
Tough one for sure. And finally, we've got a featherweight fight that's practically guaranteed to be a brawl. Nate Landwehr, known for his wild, aggressive style, facing Doo-Hoo Choi, also known for his exciting knockout-heavy approach.
These guys are both action fighters. They just don't back down.
Landwehr brings that chaotic energy to the octagon, always moving forward, throwing punches from all angles, doesn't give his opponents a moment to breathe.
Choi's a knockout artist. Incredible power in both hands.
Yeah, he's got that Korean zombie style, takes a punch to land a punch. This fight's almost guaranteed to be a slugfest.
Odds makers have Landwehr as a slight favorite at -165. Choi the underdog at +140. But honestly, this one feels like a coin flip.
Totally. It's one of those fights where you just gotta sit back and enjoy the chaos. Someone's probably getting knocked out, but who knows who it'll be.
It really shows you how unpredictable MMA can be.
For sure.
So there you have it, folks. The main card for UFC 310, we've got title fights, title eliminators, rematches, grappler versus grappler, striker versus grappler, and a guaranteed brawl. It's going to be an incredible night of fights.
Can't wait.
And in the next part of our deep dive, we're going to take a closer look at each fight and give you our predictions. So stay tuned.
All right, so let's get into some predictions. Starting with that main event, Pantoja versus Akira. I gotta go with Pantoja. I think his experience and his well-roundedness, it'll be too much for Asakura in his UFC debut. You know, Asakura's got that explosive power, but Pantoja's faced some of the best in the division, and like we said, he's never been finished.
I see where you're coming from. But I'm kind of wondering if Asakura, being a bit of an unknown, could actually play to his advantage. Like, Pantoja might not know what to expect from him.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's always that element of surprise with a newcomer. But I still think Pantoja's fight IQ, you know, his ability to adjust during the fight, that's going to be key. He can win this fight on the feet or on the ground, and I think that versatility will make the difference.
Okay, so you're leaning towards Pantoja. Are we talking decision, or could you see a finish?
I'm thinking Pantoja by decision. I think he'll wear Asakura down over 5 rounds. Right. Use that pressure and grappling, control the fight, and walk away with a unanimous decision victory.
Right, Pantoja by decision. Let's move on to that co-main event now. Rachmanov versus Machado Gary. This one's a tough one for me, man. Rachmanov's finishing rate is just insane, but Machado Gary's looks so good in the UFC so far.
Yeah, this is a real clash of styles, and it could produce some fireworks for sure. If Rachmanov gets inside, closes that distance, I think he'll be able to overwhelm Machado Gary with his power and grappling. But Machado Gary's smart, you know? If he can stay on the outside, use his movement, pick his shots, he could frustrate Rachmanov and maybe even pull off the upset.
You mentioned Machado Gary being a smart fighter. Do you think he can avoid getting dragged into a brawl with Rachmanov? Because Rachmanov seems to thrive in that chaos.
That's the key right there. He's got to fight his fight, not Rachmanov's fight. He can't afford to get reckless or try to match Rachmanov's power. He's got to stick to the game plan, be patient, and wait for those opportunities to counter.
So who you got?
I'm leaning towards Rachmanov. I think that pressure and his finishing ability, it's going to be too much for Machado Gary in the end. I'm predicting Rachmanov by TKO in the 3rd round.
Rachmanov by TKO. All right, now, for the heavyweight rematch, Gane versus Volkov. That first fight was a chess match, man. Very tactical, very technical. Do you think we'll see more of the same in the rematch, or could things get a little wild?
I think Volkov's going to come out more aggressive this time around. He knows he needs to take some risks if he wants to beat Gane. Gane's so good at controlling the distance, picking his shots. Volkov needs to push the pace, try to close that distance, and land some bombs.
Right. But Gane's known for his movement and his elusiveness. You think Volkov can actually catch him this time, or will Gane just dance around him again?
Gane's movement is unreal for a heavyweight. But Volkov's made some improvements too, his footwork, his head movement. It's going to be interesting to see if he can cut off the cage trap Gane and land one of those big overhand rights.
So are you thinking another decision, or could someone get the finish this time?
You know what? I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to say gone by TKO in the fourth round. I
Hey.
think he'll weather that early storm from Volkov, find his rhythm, and then catch him with the combination that puts him away.
Wow, again by TKO. That's a bold prediction. Okay, let's move on to the grappling showdown. Mitchell versus Gracie. This one's so hard to call because of the clash of styles and the uncertainty around Gracie's ring rust.
It's a really fascinating matchup because you have two very different approaches to grappling going head to head. Mitchell is all about that creativity and unorthodoxy. He's constantly looking for submissions from crazy angles, and he's so good at transitioning from one position to another. And then you have Gracie. It's all about fundamentals and control for him, establishing that dominant position and then working methodically towards a submission.
So do you think Gracie's more traditional jiu-jitsu can be effective against Mitchell's more unpredictable style?
That's the big question, isn't it? Mitchell's style is so hard to prepare for. He's always coming up with something new. But Gracie's fundamentals are rock solid. And he's got that Gracie Jiu-Jitsu lineage, which has proven to be effective against pretty much every style.
So who do you have winning this one? Will Mitchell's momentum and his crazy style be too much for Gracie, or can Gracie overcome that ring rust and pull off the upset?
I'm going to go with Mitchell on this one. I think his activity and that unique style, it's going to be too much for Gracie to handle. Especially after being out for so long, I'm predicting Mitchell by submission in the second round.
Mitchell by submission.
Yeah.
Okay, let's wrap things up with that potential brawl of the night. Landwehr versus Choi. These guys love to bring the aggression, and they're always down to stand and trade. Who you got in this one?
This is a coin flip, man. Both guys have the power to end it with one punch, and neither one is afraid to take a shot to give a shot. It's going to be a wild back and forth brawl. It could end at any moment.
So you're saying this one's too close to call. You're going to cop out and say it's 50-50?
I'm not copping out, but it really is close to 50-50. If you're forcing me to pick a winner, I'd probably lean towards Landwehr. I think he's a little bit more durable.
Yeah.
And maybe has a slight edge in cardio, which could be a factor if this fight goes into the later rounds.
But you're saying Landwehr by decision.
Actually, I'm going to say Landwehr by TKO in the third round. I think he'll wear Choi down with that pressure and eventually find the finish. But again, this fight could go either way. Wouldn't surprise me at all if Choi landed a bomb and ended it early.
Okay, so we've gone through the whole main card.
Yeah.
Got your predictions.
Some bold ones in there.
Yeah, man. But before we wrap up, any final thoughts on this event? Anything that stands out to you in terms of the bigger picture?
You know what? I think it really shows the global reach of the UFC these days. We've got Japan, Kazakhstan, Ireland, Russia, Brazil. It's like the whole world is represented on this card.
It's true.
Yeah,
It's not just an American sport anymore. It's a worldwide phenomenon.
exactly. And it's not just about nationality either. It's the different fighting styles. You know, you've got everything from that classic Gracie Jiu-Jitsu to the crazy unorthodox grappling of Bryce Mitchell.
Oh, yeah, it's such a mix.
And that's what makes MMA so unpredictable and exciting. You just never know what's going to happen when you've got fighters from such different backgrounds with such different approaches going at it.
It's that unpredictability that keeps fans coming back for more. You can analyze the matchups all you want, break down the styles, look at the betting odds, but at the end of the day, anything can happen.
It's true. You've got the strategy, the technical aspects of the fighting, but also just that raw human drama,
Yeah.
the clash of wills, the desire to win. It's a sport that really grabs you on so many levels.
So for our listeners out there, what should they be paying attention to as they watch UFC 310? Any key storylines or matchups you think would be particularly interesting?
Well, the title fights are obviously going to be huge. Pantoja versus Asakura, that classic champ versus challenger story. And Asakura making his UFC debut right into a title shot. It's going to be wild. And then you've got Rakhmonov versus Machado Gary, two undefeated guys on the rise with a title shot on the line.
And what about those other fights? Anything else we should be watching for?
Definitely. I think that heavyweight rematch between Gane and Volkov is going to be fascinating. Volkov wants that revenge, and he's been working on his style since their first fight. It'll be interesting to see if he can pressure Gane, maybe force him into a brawl.
And we can't forget about Mitchell and Gracie. That grappler versus grappler showdown could steal the show if it hits the ground.
Oh, absolutely. And then you've got Landwehr and Choi. Those two are going to put on a show for sure. Stand up or probably see a knockout in that one.
All right, so there you have it. A deep dive into UFC 310. We've got title fights, title eliminators, rematches, different styles, potential brawls. This card has a little something for everyone. It's going to be an amazing night of fights. Definitely one you don't want to miss. We can't wait to see how it all goes down. So for all you fight fans out there, thanks for tuning in to another deep dive. We'll catch you next time.
If you enjoyed this video, please consider supporting this channel by hitting the subscribe and like buttons. This will help the channel grow and expand on the journey we have begun together here at AI Meets You.